Hi everybody, I'm Rhiannon Lawson. So I'm here today to talk a bit about how IoT can help your business be more secure. So earlier in one of the other sessions, Peter mentioned that in a few years there'll be between 50 to 100 connected devices or assets for every person in the world, so about 1 trillion assets. And so I'm now going to try and explain how that's a good thing and make your business more secure. I can feel that some people are probably rolling their eyes and think that that's probably not a thing, that IoT can't make things more secure. It's a huge buzzword and has been for a long time, or buzz acronym, I suppose. If I was a supplier here to tell you about connected technology, then I'd expect you probably all to leave. But I'm not a supplier, so I'm hoping that this will be interesting. So first of all, a little bit about me. So I'm the head of standards at the Centre for Digital Public Services Wales. So I set standards to help the public sector in Wales to build secure and user-friendly services for citizens in Wales. I have worked in government in technology for the last 5 years or so, and prior to that worked in Transport for London in security. So that was my first role in tech. This is also me. So some of the sort of less official stuff. So this is my dog, Castiel. I live in London. I'm trying to learn a bit of Welsh since I'm working for the Welsh Government. I've just been telling the tech guy at the back all about Dinosaur Wednesdays. I do Dinosaur Wednesdays, give facts about dinosaurs, so it's sad that this isn't a dinosaur day. I have a podcast called The Unfairer Sex, which I would recommend you all go and listen to, of course. So IoT can help how can IoT help our organisations be safer? Obviously we've heard a lot today about how COVID has resulted in us using far more technology at work. Obviously people are working from home. They therefore need to make sure that they are doing things in a secure way. A lot of people don't know about security. They don't know what the basics are. So how do we go about educating our teams? So this is a quote that I heard at a similar event to this. I mean, it's probably a paraphrase, but someone stood up on stage and said, we should punish people who don't do the right thing when it comes to security. We should give them disciplinary, and I'm sure there might be people in the room that think that, and I'm sure people have heard it in their organisations as well. A study said that 4 in 10 organisations punish their staff for cybersecurity errors. That is clearly not a good thing, so these are some other percentages that I found. So I think this is pretty shocking. Formally punishing staff for cybersecurity slip-ups is definitely not the way to go. It's really problematic, is unfair, and diminishes productivity. It gives a really bad impression of cybersecurity people. I think a lot of us, we're seen as like the no people, and that people come to us at the end of a project to say, oh, can I do this, or is it not secure? It builds resentment and stress, and most importantly, will discourage people from reporting cybersecurity incidents. And what you want is when someone does make a mistake, for them to come and tell you what's happened, so you can fix it and mitigate any issues. So of course, there's going to be a lot of people some people in your organisation that know a lot about security. Some of them almost too much, and they might be a bit too cautious about some things. There are then the people, of course, who know very, very little, and it's those people that I'm suggesting that IoT might be able to help sort of make cybersecurity stick. So, how am I suggesting this? So, this is sort of a list of these aren't quotes, but these are the kind of views that I've heard people have when it comes to security. So I did this morning with regards to two-factor. I was so annoyed that I again had to use two-factor authentication. And so people get annoyed with security as a result of that. When it comes to like securing their personal life, they think when it comes to their bank, and this is something my dad said, I'll get my money back anyway, so what does it really matter if it gets hacked? No one wants the things in my house, so why would I bother having extra passwords and what have you? So My proposal is, as I said, to get IoT to help us. And I think we do that through educating people around their personal devices. And that then seeps into work. So just to have a little think about how many connected devices you have in your house. So this is probably nothing. And as mentioned earlier, there's going to be 50 to 100 per person in the next few years. But if you were to speak to your teams or think about it yourself, you've probably got 24, maybe even more connected devices. Some of them are going to be very peculiar things. It might be a connected washing machine or a connected toaster or whatever else. But all of these things clearly need some level of security, and a lot of the time we're not questioning what they are, what that security is. And when we buy a connected device, this is the kind of checks I think we do when it comes to security. And obviously that's kind of not good enough. So, these are a handful of connected devices that I found on Kickstarter. None of them mentioned security anywhere. Oh, no, one of them did. One of them said this is very secure, and that was it. So it was the this one here, which is it's something for, I think it was something around blood pressure, and it just said it's very secure. So the other ones are, we have a connected seat. So the one in the top left is you're able to program it to puff up and down and change shape depending on who's sitting on it at the time to apparently be more comfortable, because of course we need one of those. There's a connected piggy bank, which I suppose maybe it counts the money as the kids put it in, I don't know. There's this watch is a specific watch which catalogues your dart scores and how good you are at darts. I don't. There's a connected body measure, tape measure, which I assume just uploads it to an app or something. And then we've got connected Tupperware. Oh, I took one off of here. There was, so this is when we move into slightly more sensitive topics. There was also a connected personal aid, it called itself, which tracked how quickly men recovered after engaging in intimate activities. I'm not really sure why that's necessary. So, as I said, this is where we go on slightly more sensitive topics. And if you're easily embarrassed, now's the time to go and get another coffee. So, what I'm going to talk about now are things like, so as I said, connected washing machines, connected piggy banks, connected whatever else. And there are lots of scare stories about those things being hacked. There's lots of, there've been stories about TVs where people were able to look into your house, or baby monitors where people are able to talk to you through your baby monitor. But even though those things go into the news, they're very quickly forgotten. And the thing that I want to try and do is, one, talk about all these connected devices and get people to understand that they need to be looking at what they're buying and how it is secured, but also make these things land and stay with people. So my story, and some of you may have heard it, is about connected sex toys. So there have been a number of stories that have recently, well, I think since 2016 was the first one I saw, about connected sex toys being hacked. And I gave this talk, a similar talk to this, back in about 2017, and a few people have since come up to me and said, like years later, and said, I actually remember this thing because because it is something, whether you have a connected sex toy or not, is something that is going to stick with you. So people were buying these things. There was one in particular that had a camera on it, and there were people who were hacking into this camera either to look or to share or just so that they could. And so that is because this device had zero security on it. There's a company who specifically now looks at these things, and they put one in the middle of a table in a boardroom, and 5 people within the hour of that meeting had turned it on and off. So these are the things that I really think, like, if you can, I can see a couple of shocked faces, that if you talk about baby monitors being hacked, or sex toys being hacked and various other things like that, they're the things that make it stick. And then you can say, okay, have a think about all your other connected devices. What information might people be able to gather? And as I said, people often say, well, who wants my information? Like, why are people interested? But they don't think about what information can be gathered from from all of the different devices they have. So someone will be able to track what time you're in your house and where you are in your house based on the lights that are on or based on the device you're using. And there's so much, as I'm sure you all know, there's so much information that can be gathered from that. And which, individually, hackers don't care about any one of us, but some people just do it for fun, or they do it because they can, or they might be doing it for more sort of nefarious reasons. So my whole thing on this is to try and educate people through their own personal devices without really without being too preachy about it, and trying to help people to understand why it's important. I've realised I've really dashed through this. I think I had half an hour, so I really hope that all of you have many questions. But basically, as I said, landing security generally and making people remember it is how we make sure that our businesses stay secure, and how IoT can help our businesses. Whether we do that through scare stories or whatever else, I think that it can really bring value to make sure that people who truly don't understand and probably don't care about security, certainly not in the workplace, I think a lot of people probably think, well, the IT team have got it, I don't really need to worry about it, it will just leak in. You almost don't have to train them about work security if they're already doing it all at home. So finally, I really would like to sort of implore people to encourage security by design. So in your own organisations, if you are designing things or building things, please don't put security at the end of the process. But also, as security professionals, I think we all need to be super approachable and try and make security a bit more of it feels like a taboo subject almost, and everything's always really negative in the news about security, and I think we need to be a bit more pragmatic than we often are, there are times where we just say no, and I think we just need to be a bit more sensible and be a trusted group of people rather than people that our colleagues are worried about coming to speak to and get support from. And absolutely do not punish your teams for making security slip-ups, and encourage them to tell you when they've made a slip-up, the tiniest thing or the biggest thing, so that they can see how it can be fixed and it's all good, and they've got nothing to worry about. And that is it. So I've rushed through that in 15 minutes. So has anyone got any questions? I'm sorry if I spoke really fast. This is my first in-person presentation for quite some time, so I think I dashed it. Yes?
Go on, I've got another example of how stupid IoT can be when you start bringing it into your house. I've got a coffee maker by Beans Coffee Maker, and it's got a function in there so you can connect to it Bluetooth. Why would you may think, oh, it's a good idea, but one of the problems is, the only thing you can do is, when you connect to it, you can tell it to make a brew. But to make a brew, I need to be able to put a cup in there to be able to use it. So actually, that's no good. So then I think, all right, well, the only option I would have would be that if I'm getting up in the morning, I want to make a brew before I've gone. So I'll put a cup underneath it, turn it on, make a brew, come downstairs, oh, nice steaming brew for me. The only trouble is, when you turn the machine on, it cleans all the coffee through, and all the wastewater then goes into that cup that you put in there, and as a result, that function is useless. And even worse than that, you think, well, actually, I'll make a brew, then I might be able to use it when I'll make a brew, and I'll go away and sit at my desk, and I'll make a brew, and go back and make another brew for myself. But the problem is, the Bluetooth times out after 5 minutes, so at that point you can no longer connect to it via Bluetooth. So it's the most useless function I see that someone has added because somebody thought it was a good idea as a sales function and not
And it
actually
is though,
to
isn't it?
security.
It is a sales function. People love a connected device. But what often it's what I've been told by developers, and I'm not a developer and I'm not a coder, but I've been told that coding security is boring. And so they just don't want to do it. And because as consumers we're not asking for this stuff, that it's not then coded in. So we need to be asking more. So it might be a sales function and a way to sell another thing. But actually, if we then say to that salesperson, can you tell me how secure it is? And they're like, nope, not a clue. Then they're going to have to start learning all of that stuff. I think, so my housemate bought a washing machine, a connected washing machine, which I think is pointless because you've still got to put everything into it. And I've had a timer on my washing machine for years. So I don't really understand why you'd want it connected. But he didn't check, despite living with someone in security, did not check anything around the security of it.
I've got one of those as well. So I've got a company card by H, and it works with near field connection. So you actually got to bring your phone to it to start it. I can press a button. Why do I have to go, slow up my phone now, put the program in, and then go like this, and I can just go click.
Yeah.
So how do you suggest, as a consumer, that we sort of analyse that? Because I know that if I was to check on my router, I can see what is attached, and there's a whole host of, you know, when we're checking, why is my Wi-Fi so bad? And then you look and there's about 15 devices attached, but half of them are unrecognisable. You don't know what they are. Sometimes if you do know what they are, you can change the names to this is the TV, or but even having that level of information, like how do you check what is what? And then also, how do you check what is possibly vulnerable? Because there doesn't seem to be, like, if you're on your PC, you would add an antivirus protection, but what protection do you have from some of these devices that could be vulnerable?
So I think one, there's when you're buying a device, like I literally did a Control F and clicked security, because surely that's the easiest way to discover if it, and look for basic standards of security, which I think as security people we probably know about. But I mean, just anything that says here's what we're using as a baseline is a good thing. When it comes to vulnerabilities though on your devices, and I can't remember the name of the app, but there is an app. Do you know what it is?
Bitdefender do a tool that you can run on your machine. You'll scan your local network looking for what's open on there.
But also there's an app that you can use that has it. They constantly add new devices that have been brought out to say how secure they are, and it's just, I mean, it's essentially just, it is a list that says secure or not and explains why. So there are a few of those apps out there, and again, like, it's one of those things that we just need to encourage people to be looking at. And when you see that half of your devices are actually red and that they are all vulnerable, and then maybe we will stop buying those things, and we need to encourage people to stop buying them. But also, as I said, we need to be asking the questions of the companies that we're buying from, and you know, doing the real basics, putting passwords on things, and and doing those checks to make sure, like, what are these weird devices that are attached to my router.
So I believe there's a Kitemark standard.
There is.
Yeah, coming out, and it will say, you know, this IOT device has been built to a certain level of specification, which means that it has a level of security.
But I don't know what the standard is that I don't know if it's like Cyber Essentials. I don't know if it's like what it is, and I suppose depending what the device is, you might want to take a risk-based approach and say, actually, this has really basic security on it, but do I need slightly more?
I think the issue with that as well is that support's going to be. So the point you buy it, really supported, but if that company then fails, who's supporting after that point?
Yeah, definitely. TJ.
I've got a suggestion. I think in a way you should segregate a network in your house. So your router, it could separate the guests, right? Like most people do, and then the one you use. Also, you could have the third option, which is for devices that are connected. So, for example, in my house, I've got very nice bulbs that I could control my phone. But when they burn out, would I go spend close to £100 on buying one on Samsung or something like that, or something similar to that? I just go to, Amazon and order any random one. So when I order a random one from Amazon, that doesn't mean it's going to be the same level of security, but it does the job. So So what I just do is to have all my wireless connections that are all my IOTs in the house on one service on my router. So that kind of gives me another step to security. So my phone and my TV, which I do connect to my phone a lot, is on a particular one, and my work device is on a particular one. And I really don't have guests that much, so yeah. So
That's really tough though, isn't it?
so
like
that
most...
gets you to, put that, but that is for security. How do you explain this to a random name?
Exactly, and most people are not going to have 3 routers and different setups, and yeah, it's trying to get people to do those basics. I mean, honestly, my dad is the worst for it. He told me he hadn't changed the original password on his router. He'd probably had I think I could probably still guess my dad's password that he had on his email from 15 years ago, because it will be the same. And it's that kind of stuff that just people don't think about.
Thank you.
So I think we're just about there. Thank you for all the comments and questions, because as I said, I did kind of rattle through it all. I hope it's been kind of useful, and I really hope, if there's anyone in your organisation that does punish people, I mean, just get rid of them. But I really hope that, you can take some of this and try and come up with some kind of education programmes that help people with both work and home.